Hello students, in the previous class we have learned to work with functions that operate on individual rows in a table, for example using the round function. In today's discussion, let us discuss about aggregate function, which is a function that works upon group of rows rather than on single rows. Aggregate functions are sometimes also called multiple row functions. So now let us have a look at these aggregate functions. AVG or average function computes the average of given data. Here you can see the syntax, and this AVG function returns the average values of the parameters. Let me show on how to use the average function with the help of command line client. Here we have the students table with 4 records. Now if I want to calculate the average of IP marks, then we can simply follow the given syntax. So let me write here IP marks. So I'm giving a name as average. So here we are retrieving the average of IP marks from students table. So here we have the output for average of the IP marks. Okay, now to avoid the confusion here that I give the name average, let me now give the name as average marks. So here it is clear that we are calculating the average marks of the students. Count function returns the number of rows in a given column or expressions. So it returns the number of rows in the query. And if you specify argument, then this function will return rows where the expression is not null. So you can count either all the rows or only distinct values as per the expression. And if you specify the asterisk, then this function will return all the rows including duplicates and null. So let us have a look at the count function. So we shall count the number of records in the students table. So spelling mistake. So here count star. So now you can see after specifying the asterisk, then we are getting all the rows. So we have 4 rows or 4 records. That's why it is returning 4. So this means the total number of records in this table. So we are counting the total records using count star. So we have just tried using asterisk. Now let us try with retrieving the names. So here let me write name. That means one of the field from the students table. So there are 4 students as you can see, so 4 different names. Now if you look here, I want to count the number of names of the students, not for displaying the names but to count how many names are there in the student table. So here we are getting 4 because there are 4 names in the students table. Now let us try with distinct. So we have tried displaying the number of records, which is 4. So if you remember, in the original table, that means in the student table, we have two sections. That means there are some students belonging to section A and some to section B. So now let us display the distinct section. That means how many sections are there in the students table. So here we are getting 2 because there are only 2 sections. Let me show you the original table here. A spelling mistake. Okay, now you can see there are only 2 sections, section A and section B. Some students belong to section A, whereas some belong to section B. So here you can see we have the distinct records. Next is max. The max function returns the maximum value from a given column or expressions. Now let us find out what is the maximum IP marks in this students table. So looking at this table, we know that 96 is the maximum or the highest marks. So let us now write a query to check whether 96 is the maximum marks or not. So the answer is correct. That means the maximum IP marks is 96 using the max function. To find out the minimum value of a given expression, we can use the min function. So let us have a look. What is the minimum marks from this students table? So now here I'll write min. So let me write here minimum marks. That means what is the lowest marks in this students table. So as you can see, 54 is the minimum marks. Similarly, we can use sum function to find out the sum of the values in a given column or expression. So here, let me change to total marks. Using the sum function, we are calculating the total of IP marks. So the sum function returns the sum of the values of this IP marks. And here this is for the sum function. This is sum. Sum returns the sum of the values in a given columns or expression. So we have learned that AVG function returns the average, max function returns the maximum value, min function returns the minimum value, then the count function counts the number of rows including duplicates and nulls, and min function returns the minimum values of a column or an expression. So I hope you have learned something out of this video. We shall meet again in the next video with some more functions such as order by and group by functions of MySQL.